Don Bosco was born on the evening of 16th August 1815 in the hillside hamlet of Becci, Italy. He was the youngest son of Francesco Bosco and Margherita Oceana. He had two older brothers, Antonio and Giuseppe. When he was little more than 2 years old, his father, Francesco, died. His mother taught him the faith and to live according to the Gospels. Margherita taught them that work was a privilege and that doing the work with joy would make the work lighter. John had learned from his mother to see God in the face of the sick and needy. At the age of 9, John saw a dream. In his dream, John found himself fighting a group of rowdy boys. He tried to stop them, but they refused to listen. Suddenly, a man appeared in front of John.
You will not help these boys by fighting with them. You can win only by goodness and kindness.
Then a woman appeared before him. When the woman waved her hand, the boys turned into snarling wild animals. And when the woman put out her hand, the beasts changed again to a flock of lambs. In the next few days, a carnival took place in the nearby hills. John went to see the carnival, and he was amazed to see the jugglers and the acrobats. And on one Sunday, John gave his first performance in front of the boys. He jumped on a rope he tied between two trees and started walking on it. Games and the prayers started reforming his little friends. They were inspired by John and started going to church regularly. Little John understood that to do good for so many boys, he needed to study well and become a priest. When he turned 20, he took one of the most important decisions of his life. He entered a seminary. After 6 years of intense, hard work, he was ordained as a priest. He changed his name to Don Bosco, as per the Italian tradition. Now, Don Bosco was finally able to dedicate himself full-time to the abandoned boys he had seen in his dream. The most dramatic moment came when he visited the prisons. He was shocked to see many boys aged between 12 and 18, all healthy and strong inside the prisons. He took a decision to do whatever it takes to prevent the boys ending up in prisons. Don Bosco met the first boy on December 8, 1841. He took care of him. 3 days later, there were 9. 3 months later, 25, and in summer, 80. They were pavers, stonecutters, masons, plasterers who came from faraway places. Every Sunday, they would meet in a different spot, a city church, a cemetery chapel, or an empty lot. Don Bosco would hear their confession and say Mass for them. An hour of religious instruction would follow, plain, homely talks coming from the heart and embodying the solid truths of the faith. Then the priest would take his gypsy band into the country for an all-day outing of games. In the autumn of 1853, Don Bosco came to a decision. He started shoemaking and tailoring shops in the oratory at Veldaccio. After these shops for shoemakers and tailors, Don Bosco built other shops aimed at training bookbinders, carpenters, printers, and mechanics. 6 shops in which the privileged place was reserved for orphans, the poor, and totally abandoned boys. He lived in absolute poverty while spending millions for the orphans. Such generosity of spirit could not go unrewarded by God. The last years were difficult for him. He was old and tired, but he kept up with all the activities of his Salesians, inspiring them to greater achievements for youth.
I go to my rest. I shall not get up again. Do not ever forget these 3 things, my sons. Devotion to the Blessed Sacrament, devotion to Mary, help of Christians, and devotion to the Holy Father.
On January 31st, 1888, with the names of Jesus and Mary on his lips, he passed away.